Manchester. Let's come back to rather more mundane matters. Thousands more homes set to be built in Cheshire after the plans to deal with its housing needs were dubbed inadequate by a local government inspector. Cheshire East Council have set themselves a target of building 27,000 new homes by 2030, which you think, wow, that's a lot. Well, apparently it's nowhere near enough. They've been told they need 40,000. And the council's plans to allow more than 2,000 new homes to be built at Handforth on the border of Stockport has also been criticised. Earlier, I spoke with Mark Hunter, Liberal Democrat MP for Cheshire, and he voiced his concerns.
I think it shows in large measure the ineptitude of Cheshire East Council and the way they've gone about this. Because it's on the border with Stockport, they had a duty to consult. The inspector has been critical about that. I've got this report in front of me. It actually says significant flaws in both the process and evidence relating to the release of land from the Greenbelt. So I think that's a very critical verdict that the inspectors come to, and I think this is round one to the objectors.
Councillor Cllr Jones is the leader of Cheshire East Council. Lots of people, one of the local MPs and indeed the local government inspector criticising your housing plans. A, they're not inadequate, and B, you're building them in the wrong place anyway.
Well, it's interesting, Alan, obviously it's very regrettable where we are with suspending it for 6 months. Methodology there. Mark Hunter, very interesting, his party want to build more houses and merge Cheshire East into Manchester, something we'll never support. So he really wants to talk, and he should be worried because clearly the Greenbelt is precious between Stockport and Cheshire East. What we're looking at, and let's be very clear about this, the inspector has given lots of hints. He's not been definitive. He's not said 40,000 houses. But we have to look where he's saying he feels they're insufficient. We have to look at our methodology. But of course, actually I think it's the other way around. I think he's saying our growth numbers are low. And actually we are a victim of our own success. Our growth is going well. We saved Oldley Park. We've got a North West Rail Hub recommended. And he's saying 0.4% isn't good enough, as the consequence housing numbers need to be moved.
It's a fairly agile switch to say he's actually congratulating us. He says you should be planning for 40,000 and you're planning for 27,000. There's not to applaud in that.
Well, he's saying that the range needs to be looked at and he feels that there needs to be more. But with HS2 coming in, we recognise there can be more. We can already know we can bring many more in. But the problem we have to defend the Greenbelt, which we will. We have to make sure that we get it right. Now, it is our plan. We need to make sure we've got the evidence in place. What the inspector said, and I've read it several times, I'm not sure Mr. Hunter's probably read it, maybe you should look at it a bit clearer. He's saying we need to show the evidence and be more robust about the evidence, specifically our SMAR, our strategic housing market assessment, and their economic indicators, and make sure they're aligned. And I think that's a key point because growth in Cheshire East is very high.
Did you not think when you were writing it all that they ought to align?
I would say that our officers should have done a clearer logic to what's going forward.
It's the officers' fault.
Well, I've not written it, have I? Let's be very clear. I do many things. I don't write the actual report for this. But however...
You have to approve what they write.
The whole council... Actually, I didn't vote for it, if you remember. I left the meeting. But the whole council approved it. But the fact is, at the end of the day, we need to get this right and focus on it and make sure that we move forward. Getting more houses, is not desirable in certain parts of the council area. We want to keep green gaps. We want to keep Greenbelt, but other than that, I think we can fit into what needs to go forward.
To deal with one specific that Mark Hunter raised and suggested, he said you failed to consult with Stockport Council despite the fact you were building adjacent to them. Why did that happen?
Well, it didn't happen, and he's totally wrong, because clearly, one thing the inspector does say, we have passed the duty to cooperate. So he's completely incorrect there. I mean, that's one of the pieces of good news in there. He does say, we've passed the duty to cooperate.
Your plans are now back to the drawing board. Does that mean you're now going to have to build homes in Poynton, Wilmslow, Knutsford, places like that, where there's going to be campaigns against them, because there always is these days?
Well, clearly he's inferred those towns specifically, and you're right to mention them, are areas. We put a robust numbers in. We introduced council fees to take the weight off the agreement in one area rather than pepper potting. And clearly, Alan, we have to look at all this. What we're going to do is recheck our analysis, our methodology, our ideas, and see what we do from there to make sure our numbers are in line so we can get it right. It's going to be a tough challenge, but we're going to throw a lot of good, strong intellect. We've got one of the best people in the market already coming to work for us. We'll be adding more in, and you can be sure...
So at least it won't be the same officers that you blame for the last fiasco?
I'm not blaming anybody. We've got to get it right. Blame culture is not my way. You know me, Alan, I like to get things done. Get it sorted out.
Cllr Jones, thank you. Councillor Cllr Jones, leader of Cheshire East Council. The mega brain this morning.